Hello everyone, MFPallytime here. Welcome back to Borderlands 3. Hope you guys are having a great day today. In today's video, we're going to be going over the Moze build that I have been running and completely annihilating Mayhem 3 with. Not True Bond Hunter mode Mayhem 3. I haven't played through the game again yet, but Mayhem 3, it's been going really well. It's focused on dealing splash damage to everything, and also a constant stream of grenades constantly being thrown by your character, annihilating everything on screen. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and settle in. We'll begin. What you're seeing on the screen right now is a proving ground. I can clear these pretty consistently with the top time challenge completed, which is completing it with 25 minutes left on the clock. I don't really farm for perfect affixes or anything. I just gotta go in and clear it pretty consistently. So, yeah, that's good. Before we get too far into the video, you should know that there are some required items for this. And I say required, not because you necessarily have to use this item, but you want to use items like this. And I'm particularly talking about our grenades here. I have a reoccurring hex. This is a grenade that when I throw it, it automatically splits into 2 more grenades. And then when those 2 grenades impact a target, it splits again into 3. So every single grenade throw is 6 grenades actually leaving our character effectively. And every time one of those grenades deals splash damage, we have a chance of getting another grenade back for free and replenishing the current ammunition in our magazine, so you can keep shooting your gun without reloading and keep throwing grenades without ever running out if you find the right type of grenade. Now, I do think the reoccurring hex, or any kind of hex, any elemental hex, is going to be the best way to do this. Again, you just want to make sure it splits and that it spawns MFP grenades, but you don't have to use the hex grenades. You can also go for things like the storm front, which is a longbow grenade that you throw on the ground and does chain lightning. You just want a single grenade that is able to do more splash damage than a single explosion. That's really the only requirement for this, but I have a lot of stuff that makes it better, and I'll go over that later. So as far as the build goes, in the Demolition Woman tree, we have 5 points in Fire in the Skag Den. Anytime we do splash damage, we're also going to deal incendiary damage on top of it. It's just a flat damage increase because everything we're doing is splash damage. Underneath that, we have Means of Destruction. Now, this is one that's very important. It's a cornerstone of this build. If you don't have this, it won't work. Whenever Moze deals splash damage, there's a chance to add ammo back to her currently equipped magazine with a smaller chance to return a grenade. Throughout the entire gameplay footage that you're seeing right now, I did not reload once, and I very seldomly had less than my maximum grenade count. This is ridiculous if you can get the right grenade for it, and I cannot recommend the hex enough. We also have Torgue Cross Promotion. It has a chance to double your splash damage radius. If you don't have the right weapons for this, this one may not be required. You could go for things like Auto Bear and actually use your mech a little bit if you wanted to. You could switch things up a little bit here, but I do think that Torgue Cross Promotion suits me the best with our current setup. We have Pull the Holy Pin. Moze's grenades have a chance to score a critical hit, dealing greatly increased damage. Sources of critical hit damage do not affect grenade critical hits. We're going to have grenades flying across the screen constantly, as I'm sure you can already tell. If those can crit, that's a very big damage increase. We have Vampire. This is not required unless you find a very specific class mod, and I'll go over that class mod here very soon, but every time I throw a grenade, it's basically healing us, which is very strong. And on the off chance that we do somehow get taken down, To the Last allows us to continue to throw grenades even when we're in that last stand state, that second win state, trying to get back up. Then in the Shield of Retribution tree, this is where we get not only a lot of our survivability, but also our gun damage as well. We're taking Armored Infantry at the top. While Moze's shields are active, she gains damage reduction and increased gun damage. We're always going to have shields because our shields are constantly being healed. So think of this as just a 13% damage reduction across the board and a 15% increase to our gun damage because it's literally always going to be there. We have 5 points in Vladoff Ingenuity as well, just increasing our maximum shield and also increasing our resistance to shock damage. Shock damage is the element that cuts through shields the fastest, so having this little bit of resistance can go a long way, but I'm also always at full health, so it's hard to notice. Thin red line is going to take a portion of our maximum health and apply that to our shields instead. So it's going to be lowering our health pretty significantly, but boosting the amount of shielding that we have at the same time. Normally, this would be okay. You could take this if you wanted to, but with the right setup, which we have, this just means that we're going to have even more shields, and this is going to tie into the build later on as well. Drowning in Brass is going to give us a damage increase every time we kill an enemy, but it's going to lower our fire rate as well. Now, because a lot of the weapons that I'm using in this particular build have massive explosions tied to them, that gun damage just means that we're going to be hitting most things on the screen for a higher amount of damage than we would otherwise. Desperate Measures is a pretty incredible talent. So Moze's gun damage is increased depending on how low her health is. The lower her health, the greater the increase. We already have points here in Thin Red Line, which is going to be lowering our health. So that has a perfect synergy even without any gear associated with the talent. However, we have a fantastic class mod, or actually a fantastic artifact, that's going to be making this so we always have that 83% increase. We do also have a class mod allowing us to have 5 points in this talent rather than the normal 3, making it even more effective. And last but certainly not least, we have 7 points with our artifact into the Phalanx Doctrine. This is going to give us increased gun damage and increased shields every time we kill an enemy. And the beautiful thing about this talent is this does not have a cap. These stacks last for 30 seconds, and as many people as you can kill, the more it's going to benefit you. I've had well over 120,000 shields as a result of Phalanx Doctrine stacking up like crazy, and of course that gun damage scaling through the roof doesn't hurt anything either. I'll go over the rest of the gear that I have equipped very quickly if you would like to try to emulate it. Probably the best gun for this build would be the Cocky Flacker, which we have equipped here. Any kind of flacker will do. I used plenty of other ones and it was fine, but the Cocky Flacker shoots 5 bullets at a time. And as you can see, it has a pretty big explosion associated with it. This gun is the main reason that I picked up the Torgue cross promotion, because our grenades don't really benefit from an increased splash radius because they kind of seek out targets on their own. Their splash radius is just them connecting to an enemy, and that's it. However, being able to fill the screen with this is pretty impressive. And of course, this scales with the gun damage associated with the build. I also really like using another shotgun. This is the Butcher. I don't think the prefix really matters here. Go for whatever you can get. What's amazing about the Butcher is it's a Hyperion shotgun, so it's gonna shoot very, very quickly, but it has a chance to not consume ammunition each time you fire it. When you take that into consideration with the fact that you're going to be regenerating ammunition to your main magazine, whenever there's a little bit of a stubborn enemy on the screen that you need to focus down a little bit faster, the Butcher can come into play in a very big way. My class mod is the Entrenched Bloodletter, and what this is going to do is if Moze would be healed, she's going to gain shields instead. If she would regenerate health, she's going to regenerate shields instead. So that goes perfectly with the Vampire talent here, because every time we throw a grenade, every time one of those 6 grenades deals damage to an enemy, is going to be restoring health to our shields, which is incredible. You may have noticed that I only have 1 health. That is because of the Deathless artifact. This one has an elemental boost coupled in with it, so we do more elemental damage with our grenades, which is always nice. It's also giving us 12 luck, which I don't mind one bit either, but most importantly, reserves all but 1 health, but doubles your shield capacity, increases your recharge rate, and lowers the delay where your shields would start to recharge. It is a fantastic artifact, and it allows us to get the most out of the Desperate Measures talent here. Now, I will say there is a version of this class mod that can stack, I think, up to 3 into that talent. So we only have a 2 increase into Desperate Measures. I believe it can go up to 3. That would increase our damage even more. I did have that, but then my character didn't save. It was a really big ordeal. We had to figure it out. That's actually why this video was delayed as much as it was, because my save file got corrupted as shit, and I don't even know why that happened. And of course, just to re-emphasize this, the reoccurring hex is insanely good. You don't have to get the shock one. I also have a cryo one here that does the same thing. I'm looking for a radiation one that hopefully does the same thing. You cannot go wrong with the hex grenade. But I will go try to show you some other grenades that would work just fine with this as well. Oh, and before I forget, my shield is the transformer. It makes us immune to shock damage and has a pretty high capacity. You don't really need to use this. I had a stopgap, which had higher shield capacity. I might switch back to that. So as far as potential other grenades you could use for this build, I'm sure there's more than the ones I'm going to mention here. We have the... this is the Stormfront. This is the one I mentioned earlier. As you throw this out, it splits into more grenades, and then all of these grenades will chain lightning the area around them, dealing splash damage. So the fundamental is there. We have one grenade that causes multiple explosions. The more splash damage we can deal, the better. You could probably get away with using Moxie's bouncing pair, although it wouldn't be quite as smooth. As you can see, it throws out a couple grenades. These just keep bouncing around. They keep dealing damage, and they kill your character if you're not careful. Yay! Firestorm grenades would probably do a decent job. It's hard to tell what they do inside of the ship, but you have this initial impact, and then fire rains down from the sky to meet that impact. You kind of see the explosions up in the roof. Maybe this would be a little hard to use inside. I never really thought about that. You could use the surge. All it says is, there she blows! But, of course, this has a pretty wide radius. It explodes multiple times. This is the one I was using prior to getting a hex grenade. Tina's Hippity Hopper. This thing is so dope. And as you're playing as Moze, this can just fill an entire screen if you throw multiples of these. But again, the same concept. You throw one grenade, that one grenade has multiple explosions, and of course, if you can get increased area of effect on those, it's going to hit more enemies and return more ammunition to you. That being said, the hex grenades, I think, are going to perform the best. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been referencing it a lot in my other guides for our legendary weapons, but unfortunately, I had to reshoot it because of that bug. I had an extra talent point. Apparently, I'm not alone. Apparently, that's just a thing that can happen. But I couldn't release a guide with a character that other people couldn't follow. So we had to make some adjustments and make that work. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see some more Borderlands content. We're going through every legendary in the game right now, and I'm having a pretty fun time doing it. Take care, everybody. See you again very soon.